Today I'm joined by Tasha Danvers. Tasha is a double Olympian, reached 3 Olympics finals in total, and last but certainly not least, a bronze medalist at the 2008 Olympic Games. Welcome, Tasha.
Hello, how are you?
Tasha, you competed in the 400-meter hurdles in track and field.
Yes.
The 400 meters is considered one of the most grueling events. So how much more grueling is it if you put hurdles in the way?
It's tough. It is really a tough event because not only does it require you to, navigate these hurdles, you've got to do it at speed. So, a lot of events where you have to go over barriers, the pace is a little slower, so you can kind of figure it out. But the speed that you have to go to navigate these barriers is quite fast. So you have to be able to think and you have to be able to react quickly.
I believe that. Tasha, in your life as an athlete, what was your darkest moment?
I would say after the Olympics, I started to suffer from depression. My life was just going all over the place. And I think that was a very trying time because as a sports person, a lot of people see you as a superhero. So not only is it difficult for you to speak up for yourself and ask for help, it's also hard for people to take you seriously when you do speak up. So, a lot of times I would kind of put my feelers out to see if people would understand what I was going through with the depression, and they'd be like, oh, you'll be fine, you're Tasha Danvers, because at the same time I was doing motivational speaking, I was speaking in schools, so people kind of brushed it off. And so when you are going through depression and things like that, it's hard to, like I said, speak up. But when somebody says, oh, don't worry about it, it's even harder. So you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to speak. So that was probably the most difficult time during my career.
And that was after the 2008 Olympic Games?
Yes, that was actually kind of, I don't remember the beginning because, depression has a way of sort of sneaking in the back door. And so I think it was probably around 2010 to around 2011.
And then there was another thing I just wanted to touch on. You were a contender for the title at the Athens Olympic Games in 2004.
Yes.
Just before that, you discovered you were pregnant and you decided to become the child and let the Olympic Games go. And you were criticized for that from teammates and other people. How was that? Oh,
that was lots of fun. Not. In 2004, I was probably, I think, number 6 in the world. In 2003, I was number 1 in my country. So there was an expectation that I was going to, at the very minimum, be a finalist at the 2004 Games and a very high possibility of being a medalist, on the podium in Athens. So for certain people, it was like, this is ridiculous, this is crazy. And for me, it was ridiculous and crazy, but it was what it was. And so there was a lot of pushback, a lot of criticism, mainly from people who were in the federation level, not friends, not other athletes, because other athletes kind of understand what, this is sport after all, and life is life. And so, in fact, one of the journalists told me that what one of this fella, whose name I won't mention, what he had said about my being pregnant was, some of it was so bad he couldn't even print it. So it was really hurtful because I'm a human being. I do have feelings. So to know that people were looking at me like that and questioning my integrity and whether or not I cared about the sport was a difficult pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, I know my heart. God knows my heart. So I just had to put my big girl underwear on and, and, pick myself up and keep going.
What was your best moment?
Well, of course, the medal in Beijing was huge for me because I had had a very difficult and unproductive season in terms of the results that I'd gotten that year. There was nothing about my season that said, oh, great, this girl is on it. She is going to be in that final. Nothing about my season said that. So to then surprise everyone. It was more of a surprise for everyone else than it was for me, because I knew how much I'd worked. I knew, the effort and the foundation that I had created prior to all the injuries and things that had set me back. So to surprise people and not only get out of the heats, because people didn't even think I would get out of the heats. I tell this story a lot, but the head coach of the British team, when the results, not the results, but when the team list came out to the media, he got 42 texts within 1 hour asking why I was on the team. So it wasn't something that people approved of, me being there. So to go from that and people not expecting me to get out the heat, people not expecting me to get out of the semi-final, to then be standing on the podium was huge. And it was the first time I'd got a medal at the Olympic Games. And to do it after I'd had my son, it was just super, super fantastic accomplishment for me. I'm very proud of that moment.
Yeah. And I actually saw that one with the text messages that your coach received. What was his reasoning, or how do I have to understand it? So there was an Olympic team of X people who could potentially go, and then he picked the ones who were supposed to go?
Absolutely. So the challenge that the team selectors, the team management had, was that it was myself, who was a more experienced athlete, but then there was a young up and coming, and she was very talented. She had actually broken my junior record, so she was on her way marching up, and potentially if she went, it would be huge experience for her, so that future Olympic medalist, so on and so forth. And she was performing well that year. In fact, she was performing on paper better than me. But the way the selection works, they can select within a certain time frame, which includes the previous year. And my previous year's time was faster than hers. My current year's time was not good at all. And so people are like, well, you got this young whippersnapper coming up, and you got this old doodad not doing anything. Why not pick the young up and coming, give her opportunity to fly? But I think my understanding of why they selected me is because I had a history of, no matter what happened, whether the chips were down, I would always somehow rise to the occasion and perform well. I'd had food poisoning before, all night long, throwing up, and then the next day I had won the European Cup, all sorts of things I'd been through. And so they decided to go with the experience, and I'm blessed with that decision.
Yeah. And in the end, the coach proved himself right.
Yes, he really needed me to perform well, and that was.
I believe that.
But people were very happy for me, of course. Once people always jump on the bandwagon at the end, right? When everything's done. But there was a lot of people that were happy for me because they had seen what I'd gone through to get to that point. So there were a lot of people that were actually happy for me. There's a big training facility in London, and it's called the High Performance Centre. And they were showing the Olympics at the centre. And one of the people there told me that when Christine, she's a 400-meter runner, she got gold. And, everyone was excited. And he said, but when you got the bronze, the roof went off the place. I think, there was just so much excitement because it was such a surprise. And I'm a nice person. So there was a lot of people who wanted me to do well and had, like I said, seen what I had been through. So it was a happy time. There was only 4 of us in the entire team that medaled in track and field. So it was a big deal for me to be able to get that.
Cool. If you could travel back in time 10, 15, 20 years, what advice would you give a younger you?
Wow. If I could travel back in time, I would say go with your gut. I think that I made a lot of choices because of fear in the past, like when I wanted to retire or what I wanted to compete in or when I wanted to compete or when I wanted to take a break. I competed nonstop. Outside of having my son, I competed nonstop for 20 years. And even when I was pregnant, I was training. So there were times when I wanted to rest, but I was too afraid to put the spikes down for a second. And I think I missed out on that time to sort of recoup, rejuvenate, so that the end of my career became very stressful mentally because I just never let up off the gas. You know, even your car, you just can't keep driving and driving and driving and driving and driving it for 20 years. So I would tell myself to go with your gut instinct. Don't be afraid. Be fearless. If you need break, take a break. And when you want to stop, it's okay. You know, you are talented in other areas. Things will figure themselves out. And I think at certain points I felt trapped in my own life because I didn't know what I would do outside of sports. So it's like, okay, I got to keep doing this thing. I got to keep staying on this treadmill because I don't know what else I would do. I don't know who I am. So I would also discover, you know, learn to discover who and what you can do and build outside of your almost persona or your career as a sports person.
Do you have the feeling that you went on for a little bit too long in your career?
I think so. I think the best decision for me would have been if I maybe ran 1 year after 2008 and then retired and explored other things. I think I just was ready at that point. Maybe had I had taken some breaks prior to 2008, it wouldn't have been such pressure, such wearing down of my body and my brain at that point. But because the Olympics were in London, I said, this is not a wise decision to quit right before your home games. What's the chances that the games are not only going to be in your country, but they're going to be in your country during a time when you are fit enough to and within the age range to compete. Not only that, they're not just in your country, they're in your home city. So it was like, as soon as I heard that it was announced, it was like bliss and sorrow at the same time. Like, oh yeah, London has the games. I'm like, oh no, that's okay.
I've also noted that down for a later point, but it fits in very well here. You just outlined, I mean, the Olympic Games 2012 were in London, in your home city, and you had to retire 1 month out of that.
Yes.
What goes on in someone's mind
Well, as I mentioned, I was going through depression up to that point. And so everything was just not connecting like it should. Training sessions, I was on antidepressants and I couldn't, you know, things were happening with my body. I could not figure out, is this me? Am I getting old? Or is this the medication? It was just a mess. And sometimes I didn't even go out the house other than to get food and go to the track. So it was just not the right environment for me to perform well. And so I'm not a person who is happy to just be a part of a team so I can say I had the shirt. I want to know that I have a chance of performing at my best. And when we got that close to the games and I just didn't feel that I was going to be able to perform my best, I probably could have made the team, but that's not what I was trying to achieve. I'm not trying to just make teams. I'm trying to make a difference, make an impact, like to perform at my best. To me, it makes more sense to let somebody else go who can really, you know, do the team justice. So I just made the decision at that point to retire prior to the trials. And I felt it was good as well for media sakes, because I felt that if I retired before the trials, there would be a bit of excitement and, oh, can't believe it. And then as soon as the trials and the new team came out, they'd forget about me. So that's what I wanted them to do, rather than it dragging on and on and on. Oh, why are you retiring now? So that's why.
And then these emotional ups and downs that you just said, how long did they continue until they kind of flattened out?
Well, I can't even remember, like I said, when it all began. I think it had been creeping up bit by bit from 2009 onwards. So I think the final straw was, I was on antidepressants and I think they had changed my prescription or whatever it was too many times within a short space of time. And I didn't know that that was a bad thing, but I read later that that's not a good thing to switch antidepressants like that. So anyway, I was at training one day and I was having a great session. Everything was going well. And then on the way home, I just started crying like crazy. from nowhere. I didn't even know why I was crying, what was going on. And I just said, you know what, that's it. If I can't have a good day when I'm having a good day, then I just don't want to bother. Like, it's fine if I'm having a bad day to feel this way, but to be having a good day and still be crying like this, I don't want to live like this. And, you know, I'm sure people don't understand why people want to take their own life. But when you are in that state of mind, you're not thinking like your normal self. If you did, if you were, you wouldn't say something like that, right? But your mind is in a different place that you don't really have control over. And so I just said, I don't want to live like this. I got home. They had given me sleeping pills as well because I was had insomnia at the time. So I just took everything. And then wake up in hospital and all that kind of stuff. And that was like the tipping point for me. I said, who is this person, right? And at that moment, I just vowed, listen, I'd already said when I went on antidepressants, it wasn't something that was going to be a part of my life forever. I was going to use it to kind of help me just get my feet under me and then get off. But at that moment, I said, no more of this stuff. This is making me crazy. I know I'm not like this. So I just made a decision. I'm not going to be on this stuff anymore. I have to figure out how to change things through nutrition, through physical activity, whatever I needed to do, mental work. People don't go into the mental gym as much as they go into the physical gym, but it's as important, probably, if not more important. So doing exercises and thinking right, this all matters. And so I just went into almost like a boot camp for my mind, and then I was able to shift from there. And now that I know what depression looks like and how sneaky it can be, it just creeps up on you, you know, usually by how you're thinking. Some people, of course, have chemical, biological things going on, but a lot of people, the reason is because they're focusing. And at that time I was focusing on how the world is this and my life is this and this isn't perfect and that isn't perfect, and that just like creates this spiral downwards. So now that I knew what that looks like, anytime I feel the sense of this trying to creep up, I can just cut it immediately. So I've never had any issues really with depression since then, because I already recognize it and I just start immediately into any steps to refocus my mind and get back on track.
Cool. I like the expression of a mental gym, and you just mentioned the vicious cycle of a downward spiral. Yes. You think through the use of a mental gym, you can also create a virtuous cycle, so an upward spiral?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The spiral can go up, the spiral can go down. We actually can choose which way we want our spiral to go. But it takes work. Just like in order for me to create muscles and toughness with my body, I have to work out. I can't just sit here like, oh, when a thing comes along, I'll see if I'm fit enough. No, I have to get up, do some work, do some workouts, you know. Same with the mind. You cannot just show up for the event and think that the toughness is just going to arrive, or when things happen in your life, you think you're just going to be able to handle them just because you're alive. You need to be prepared. You need to create this type of toughness. So mentally, and sometimes it could be like calming yourself down. Some people's exercises and things that they need is to like relax a little. Don't be so high strung. You're in a high performance situation all the time. You can't be like this. You have to meditate. You have to do gratitude exercises. You have to visualize. You have to see yourself there. How will you respond if this happens? How do you respond if that happens? And then always try to finish with the outcome that you want. So there's lots of things, lots of modalities that you can use to create mental toughness, to focus on your mind, to relax your mind, whatever it is you may need, tapping, emotional freedom technique, all sorts of things that you can use to put yourself in a good position to be successful mentally. But you have to work on it. It is work, and it is often nonstop work, because life is always happening and something new is always happening. So when those experiences happen, you have a reaction, and sometimes it's not good. Sometimes you're like, but then you work on it. So those are the opportunities that you have to keep creating mental toughness. And it's not just about, that is not necessarily mental tough. Sometimes this poise is mental toughness too. So it's just finding the right balance and doing the right exercises to keep yourself in balance wherever you are. Especially as a sports person, you're under extreme pressure from yourself internally and also externally to perform well. And that's the difficult place to be year after year after year.
What are the habits that make you a successful athlete and person?
I think the habits that make me a successful athlete and person is that I don't really give up too easily, right? Once I'm really excited and decide I want something, I will put in all the effort I can. I'm also very clear. To me, I believe everything starts in the mind. Once you have the mental foundation, you can build from there. But I do believe even in life, in sports, wherever arena you're talking about, if you haven't set a great mental foundation, people can give you all the support, all the training, all the books, all the videos, all the webinars, all the seminars in the world. If you don't have the right mindset, if you don't have that foundation, it's just like pouring good information into a black hole, into a bottomless pit. When you have the right mental foundation, not only do you know how to use that information and that wisdom, you can also navigate challenges and setbacks. And in order to be a champion, in order to do really well, those are things you have to be able to do. You have to be able to handle setbacks. You have to be able to handle yourself under pressure, all sorts of things like that. And I think that's the difference between the champions and the almost champions or the everyday person, is that ability to still be poised and successful under pressure.
Mm. And I also saw when I did my research about you that now since you're transitioning, or you have transitioned out of sports into a new career, you also took lessons, right? To be a better public speaker, to be a better communicator. Yeah, so you're all into professionalism.
Yes, I haven't necessarily taken lessons as a public speaker, but I've taken classes like Toastmasters, attended Toastmasters meetings, things like that. I'm a serial learner. I feel that if you are not learning, you are probably dead. You know, you should be learning constantly because life is always throwing us new experiences and new things. And I think we should be paying attention. Like even when we're doing this interview, my brain will be thinking, oh, what could I learn from this? Or, you know, how can we learn from this? And so I always want to learn more. I've studied life coaching. I'm a certified health consultant. So I'm always wanting to learn. I've studied Jack Canfield's success principles. I look into the passion test, all sorts of different things out there. I just study because I know my job as a human being and as an athlete is to help other people and inspire other people. And I feel like the more I know, the more I can help other people, because all things don't work with everybody. Like I might say, you know what, you should try visualization, and it's just not working for them. It's like, no, actually, why don't you try tapping or something like that? So the more I can have knowledge, the more I can, you know, choose and see what might work for other people that maybe they didn't know about. When I was competing, in fact, in 2003, I was, like I said, I was number 6 in the world and number 1 in my country. And the motivation to continue in a sport just was not there. I just didn't want to do it anymore, which is part of the reason why I feel like after 2008, I should have retired. But the reason was because I couldn't understand, okay, what's the point in collecting medals? For what? Just to walk around to say, oh yeah, I did that. What good is that? What is the use of that? That's how my mind works. Now, other people, they like, give me all the medals. I don't care. Right? But my brain isn't wired like that. I'm like, well, what's the point of this? And so my motivation to compete was just so low. And then I was at this learning seminar called Landmark. And I was sitting there, and this guy, he just keeps on. Oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm just, you know, I'm involved in the sports industry. Yeah, what do you do in the sports industry? Well, you know, I compete a little bit. And I didn't want to talk because I hated talking about sports at this time, because everybody, I just felt people didn't care about me. They cared about the sport. They don't say, hey Tasha, how are you doing? They say, hey Tasha, how's training going? Right? So nobody ever wanted to know about me as a person. So this guy said, I'm like, I want to avoid all conversation about sports. It's like, so what level do you compete at? And I'm like, oh my God. So I said, well, I've competed at the Olympics before. And he's like, oh, so where did you place? I said, well, I have a medal. He says, oh, and then from this moment, it's like every word I said, every drip of every word, he's like, so it suddenly clicked in my head. When you compete high, when you have a high level of performance, people want to hear what you have to say, right or wrong. It's just the truth. And then it suddenly clicked to me. The higher I can get in my sport, the more of a platform I will have to reach and touch other people, to inspire them to then do their best, to follow their dreams. And then that's when I then had reinvigorated that desire to compete again. It wasn't because I could do it, it was because I could see what it could do. And so that really changed things for me. So that's how I think, and that's my motivation.
Yeah, it's a bit like this Muhammad Ali story, right? Where he said like he used sport as a platform to outline what he really believes is important to share
exactly.
with the world. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a morning routine?
I try to have a morning routine, but I am a very spontaneous, spur of the moment person. So when I am on my routine, what I do is I wake up. I have certain things that I do. I don't always necessarily do them in the same order, but prayer is in there, meditation is in there, visualization is in there, declarations / affirmations are in there, and then just like quiet time. So it's all almost like mental work. I start the day in the mental gym, and then the rest of it hopefully flows well.
How do you prepare for important moments?
How do I prepare for important moments? I think really I put a lot of pressure on myself, whether it's a speech or an event, to really deliver the best I can. So I will kind of see what I need to do and kind of reverse engineer. When do I need to have this done, by that done? What do I want to get across? What do I think will help people? And so I work that way, and I will just basically practice and get people's feedback on, how do you think this is? What do you think? I don't try to just go off of my own thoughts about stuff. I like to get influence and advice from other people as well, because I think differently from everyone, but there's always two brains are better than one. So there's always something someone says, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And so a lot of times when I'm trying to come up with a speech or a presentation, the initial idea, unless I talk to someone, it's really hard sometimes for me to come up with what I actually want to speak on, which is so strange, because otherwise I have all the ideas for everybody else, but for myself it's different. But yeah, I'll just sort of stay calm and just try and really think of what I want the other person, what I think the other person wants to experience, how, make it fun, make it interesting, make it useful. If it's something like a performance or something, I may as also include visualization, like seeing myself delivering it well and everyone excited and stuff like that.
And if I take you back to that Olympic final in 2008, so you step up to the starting line, and within less than 60 seconds, it's either made or broken. How do you prepare for that?
2008 was a unique experience because I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. So when I stepped to the line, I just was very relaxed. I said, well, Tasha, all you have to do now is execute, which is true anytime you step to any line. Most of the time you will have practiced, unless some random thing happened that you ended up in a spot that you didn't expect to be. But for a sports person, if you're standing at a start line, you're more than likely expected that there was a possibility that you were going to be there. And so really all you can do is execute. I think what a lot of people do when they get into high pressure performance situations is they try to do things differently from how they've practiced it the whole time. So like, okay, I'm here at the start line now. I got to breathe. Okay, calm down. Okay, think about, stay focused. And this is not what they do in their training. When they're training, they relax. They step to the line and the gun goes, or the coach says, and they go. And then now they haven't visualized themselves in this high pressure situation, so they're doing all this stuff that they don't, jumping around and stretching and doing things that they don't normally do. I think the best thing you can do is see yourself there, allow the emotions that would come up if you were in that environment, so that when you land there, it feels natural and normal, and you don't start doing things that you didn't normally do. So I just said, all I have to do is execute. I've trained, I've done this over and over and over. There's no different. The track didn't become longer because I'm at the Olympic Games. They didn't put more hurdles up because I'm at the Olympic Games. So just go out and execute and allow it to happen. I remember when I was younger, I think I was still at university at the time, I said to Sally Gunnell, who's the gold medalist from the 1996 Olympic Games in the 400-meter hurdles for Great Britain, I asked her, what she did to prepare. And she said every day, twice a day, she would see herself in the race at the Olympics from every lane twice. And sometimes she would be ahead, sometimes she'd be behind, and she would see herself staying in control and getting in front of the other person. And so that's when I realized how important the mental side. She said when she got to the actual games, it felt so normal that she could just perform. And so that's it.
Talking about the mental gym again, huh?
Yep, gotta get in that mental gym, folks.
How do you overcome setbacks?
Well, it depends on the setback. How I overcome setbacks really depends on the setback, because some setbacks could be small and some can be tall. So really, it's just, I give myself room to be human, but I challenge myself to shift as quickly as possible, right? To learn from it, to see it for what it is, and then move on. If you look and study very successful people, they pivot quickly. So they make a decision and they start acting on that decision. So if something comes up or some challenge gets in the way, they don't stay there. Oh, I can't believe this has happened. This is not how I want it to be. I was supposed to be able to buy that building. Now I can't buy that building. What am I going to? You don't see successful people doing that. They say, you know what? This sucks. It is not how I planned it. What can I do now? So that's my goal, is always to try to pivot quickly in challenging situations so that I can be productive and be successful, following the footsteps. A lot of success is not, there's nothing new. There's nothing that we need to reinvent. A lot of it's already out there. So if we just follow the blueprint of other people that have been successful before us, it's very easy to find ways to elevate ourselves. We only need a person who's one level above us to follow in order for us to start up that ladder.
That's really cool. Who's your role model and why?
That's a good question. I've never really been a role model person, but I do admire people who have, had accomplishments and had not had it easy to get there. So I really admire people like Richard Branson, who was dyslexic, who was told that he couldn't achieve anything. I remember reading his biography, and when he started a business, he didn't have an office, but he wanted people to think he had an office, so he gave them the telephone number to a phone box and said, yes, call me at my office at this time. And he would run to the phone box and wait there for the calls. And like that type of tenacity, that type of drive, he was told that his magazine was going to fail. He was told that his record company would fail. He's told it was ridiculous to even think about creating an airline. And now millions of people travel by Virgin Airlines every single day. This is a guy who was dyslexic during a time when people didn't even recognize what dyslexia was. They just thought he was stupid. And now he owns an island and an airline and God knows what else. Like, that is really amazing. People like that, people like Oprah Winfrey, somebody who was told that, she could, black women on TV, are you crazy? This is absurd. Go do something go sweep something. You know what I mean? And now she owns her own network. These things are astonishing and they're amazing. And I just have a lot of respect for people like that, and especially the type of people they are. They're very giving. You can tell that they care a lot. And I think that's what makes them successful, is that they do what I think human beings were designed to do, which is to give back, to help others, to use their gifts and talents to allow other people to be in an environment where they can also succeed. So people like that are my role models. In sports, I have a lot of admiration for people like Sally Gunnar, who got a gold medal at the Olympics, for Edwin Moses, who, 9 years, 9 months, 9 weeks of being undefeated. So that's very admirable. But like I said, those that have come from nothing and have created amazing lives for themselves, but also use that life to really help others, those are the people I really admire.
What is the best advice you received, and who gave it to you?
I think the best advice, there's two best advices, right? So one was Sally Gunnar telling me about how she prepared mentally. That's when I really realized, like I said, that the mental side was huge. But then also my coach said to me before every race, go have fun. And that really allowed me to take the pressure off and put things in perspective. This is a sport. It's fun. It might be career, but it should be fun. And so that allowed me to just go out there and say, you know what? Because I like fun. Fun is my middle name, right? So,
I can see that.
So that was something, I think, the best advice. It really, really helped me go out and perform. So even in high pressure situations, or if you're giving a speech, I think that's always a good thing to say, is like, you know what, just go have fun. Yes, you want to perform well. Yes, but at the end of the day, you're a human being. You probably won't do it perfectly. Everyone will still love you. Everything's going to be okay. Just go have fun, right? And people can feel that energy from you. So it makes a difference.
Yeah, really cool. What's the name of the coach, to give him some credit?
It was actually Darrell Smith, who was actually my husband at the time.
Okay.
We're not married anymore, but he knew how I was, and so he understood that to tell me to just go have fun would really be significantly helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Back in the days, how did a typical training day look like?
I feel like there was no real typical training day, because for a 400-meter hurdler, you have so many elements to your training. You could be having weights or you could be lifting, like I said, you could be lifting in the gym, or it could be a running session. It could be a sprint session. It could be a long session. It could be a hurdles practice drills. It could be a more long distance drill session, because it could be any number of things. But normally, you spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours in the gym, hour and a half to 2 hours on the track. And then, any other thing that you might do, like I would often do the salt bath, like the flotation tank, those types of things, and physiotherapy, doctors, anything like that you might need to do. And then, of course, any mental work that you need to do.
Cool. Do you want to nominate someone to be interviewed?
Do I want to nominate someone
for an interview?
Oh, yeah, maybe Edwin Moses might like to talk.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I've actually spoken to Kevin Young. So
yeah.
Hearing Edwin Moses would be cool as well.
Yeah. You can ask him, or I'll ask him.
What's going on in Tasha's life at this moment in time?
Well, like I said, I'm a certified health consultant, and so I just want people to have a healthy heart, healthy mind, healthy body. So I give people, and your viewers as well, if they want to get in touch, I do a health assessment. I can do a free health assessment for your viewers, where we just kind of dig down, because sometimes we think we want certain things in life, but when we really tuck into it, it's not what we really want. So we have to get clear about what it is we say we want, what it's going to take to get there, and then figure out, is that what we really want? And if it's not, then what should we do, and what steps to take? A lot of people don't do well when they're trying to achieve stuff, because they don't know how to implement new habits. They say the first of the year, I'm going to get in shape, and then by February, just potato chips, everything's back to normal. It's not because there's something wrong with them. It's because people don't know how to create new habits. And so what I help people do is step by step, at their own pace, in their own time, give them the tools that they need to start actually making change that will last. And that's really what I'm up to now, helping others and trying to stay straight.
And I think it's really important what you say about sometimes people think they want something, but if you dig a bit deeper, it's not, because there's this saying, be careful what you wish for, right? So people sometimes wish something,
absolutely,
then they get it, and then it's like, well, that's not what I signed up for.
Yes. And I think also we have so much outside pressure of what life is supposed to look like, but that's not for everybody, right? Everybody, you know, oh, you should go to college, go to university, get married, have a few kids, stay in a good job, work 40 hours a week, retire, then die. Like, this is for a lot of people the ideal life, but it's not for everybody. You know, imagine if Richard Branson stuck to that. He says, oh, I'm just gonna, the world would lose out on a lot, because that's not what he was called to do, right? He's called to do what he did. You're here, you're interviewed, and this is not a regular 9 to 5, but you're making a difference with what you do, because people hear all these perspectives of people who have achieved, and it helps them and it inspires them. So there is no, you know, thing that we're supposed to do. And I think what happens to a lot of people is they squash their dreams because they feel like it doesn't fit into this box that their family or their friends approve of. And I think they say that so much talent is in the graveyard, is at the cemetery, because people die with the thing that they were supposed to do because they're busy living a life that other people approve of. And it's not the way to live. You must live, not just exist.
Yeah, for sure. And that actually keeps me thinking, because I saw you on your YouTube channel. Currently, you're having every other day, I think, a motivational message or something like this.
Yeah, so what I've started doing and what I try to do consistently is Monday through Friday, I do what's called a daily dose of Danvers, where I have these, I don't have any right here with me, but like I might have a card deck or something like this, and I'll just read one. And I don't really look at it before. I just kind of speak from the heart to whatever comes, and just say something from my own mind about what I think about this topic, and just hope that, you know, even a little inspiration or a little word that I say may inspire someone to be their best selves.
And then one thing that just came into my mind when I was watching some of the videos today is like, often you see people, they know, or at least think they know what they want. They have dreams, but then making the step to put the dream into action tends to be a bit difficult. What do you think holds most people back? I mean, the vision seems to be clear, but then...
I think it's fear, number one, and confusion, number two. They're afraid, okay, what if I do this and it fails? And okay, this is what I want to do, but I have no idea where to start. And I think if we're really honest with ourselves, there's not a lack of information in the world. You can click on Google and you can answer pretty much any question on the face of the planet at this point. It's what to do with the information that you have. So you can have all the information in the world, but this guy said eggs are good for you, and this guy said eggs are bad for you. Who do I listen to, right? And I remember reading a story that Jack Canfield had mentioned in his training, and he said that there was a guy who somebody was telling him, you should be vegan. And he says, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. And he suddenly realized, hang on, I don't know anything about being a vegan. Why am I so, against it? And so the guy made the decision that anything in his life that somebody said, was good or this or that, he would try for 30 days And then he would make a decision about whether or not he was going to continue with it. So he tried it for 30 days and he said, you know what, I do feel a lot better with living and eating this way. So this man who went from that's ridiculous, vegan, that's just get out of here, right? Now all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm Mr. Vegan myself, right? So I think sometimes we just need to clear our own thoughts about stuff and just maybe try something on. And the only way, if you read a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, it's by Susan Jeffers. It just kind of talks about this. It talks about how you're going to have fear, even in things where you're super talented, but you have to do it anyway, because it's in the doing that you start to build that confidence of what's the next step, who should I talk to. People would not believe this, but I am a shy person by nature, right? And now you see me now, you're like, oh yeah, okay, sure, shy, yeah, right? But it's true. I was so shy. I didn't talk to anyone when I was 14, unless I knew you very well. But when I was 14 years old, I don't know what clicked in my little brain, but I suddenly realized that I was missing out on so much by being shy. I didn't get to meet people. I didn't get invited to stuff. I just didn't have access to, conversations and stuff like that, because I'm in the corner in the back, and I just decided, I'm not going to be that way. But in terms of building that confidence, I was shy. And so I was asked to speak at my school assembly, and I had a piece of paper in my hand, right? And the paper was shaking like crazy, right? So I had this paper like this, and I'm trying to talk, and I can't read this thing at all. And you're a kid, you want to be cool, you want people to like you. The whole front row starts seeing the paper shaking and like, and so that laughter starts to spread. And the more they're laughing, the more I'm shaking, right? But I did not say, okay, well, I'm never going to speak again. I said, you know what, I'm going to try again. So next time I put my words on cardboard, because I said cardboard can't shake, right? The cardboard was like, I couldn't see it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? And then I said, no, I'm still not going to give up. So next time I try to remember, okay, I'm going to remember. My brain can't shake, right? But then I couldn't, when I got up to the stage, I forgot what I was going to say because, the nerves. But I still didn't give up. I just kept learning how to. That's why most of the time when people see me speak now, I don't usually use like a PowerPoint or any of this stuff, because I had been doing since I was a teenager, just speaking from memory. So that I just say all that to say, in the beginning, even someone, me, who's spoken all over the place to thousands of people, in the beginning, I couldn't say a sentence without shaking to death. But I decided this is what I want to do. So I'll just keep working until I get there. So you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. Another good book to look at is called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. Yeah. It really, tells you, listen, sometimes you just got to go for it. Don't give your brain time to question it, because the brain is designed to help you survive. And so if the brain says, listen, if you go on that stage, they're going to laugh at you. It's going to be terrible. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to talk yourself out of it, right? So you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you go.
Tasha, where can people find you?
Best place to find me is at www.tasha360.com. So that's TASHA360.com. So that's my social media hub. So you can find if my website is up right now, it's being redone. But that's where you'll find Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. So whichever medium you want to stay connected, that's where you find the links.
Really cool. Tasha, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.